actually.
What?
Wait,
I
what?
know. I know.
Once upon a time, 3 writers helped crack open the indie publishing world. Then they rode into the sunset, building bigger stories, taking bigger swings, and learning what actually lasts when the noise dies down. Now the band is back together, older, sharper, and uninterested in shortcuts. This is the Smarter Artist Show with Sean Platt, Johnny B. Trunt, and David W. Wright. It's the same 3 voices you know talking about the craft and commerce of storytelling, from the work they're creating to the TV shows and movies they can't stop thinking about. Shop talk for artists playing the long game in a creative world that never slows down. If you've been here since the early days, welcome back. If you're new, pull up a chair. You're listening to the Smarter Artist Show. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Smarter Artist Show, the Smarter Artist Show, episode 5, Indies Growing Up. This week we're going to talk about, well, indies growing up. And we're back, or Johnny's back with us.
Is this a puberty episode then?
Yes, it's a puberty episode. Sean gets his first hair. I won't say where.
Do you know that
anyway.
my when I went to Camp Oaks in 4th grade, I think, our camp counselor, we went in and we're all going to the bunkhouse, and the first thing he says, doesn't introduce himself. First thing our camp counselor says to this room full of 4th graders, or this cabin full of 4th graders, is, "So, any of you have hair on your balls yet?"
Wow. Okay, maybe he should be on a list.
Yeah, but it was the 80s. In the 80s, you could do that.
So, all right, we're back. Johnny's back. We had an episode last week. I don't know if it's controversial or not because it hasn't aired yet, but I'm sure we'll get some flack for it where we talked about AI. So you missed out on that one, Johnny.
Did we not talk about AI in?
No,
our
we talked
episode?
about AI, but we went deeper.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be fucked on that one. Have fun.
So Johnny's back. Why don't you tell us where you went, Johnny? And what it has to do with this show, I guess. And then we'll get to something cool after that.
I appreciate that you're trying to pretend that this is a spontaneous. Well, I guess. I mean, does it have anything to do with the show? I went to Superstars Writing Conference, which was a lot of people listening to this probably know Author Nation because it's the biggest, and it's also the direct line from what we did, right? So this isn't technically true, but I view it as like Smart Artist Summit, books, Author Nation. I view that as like the track that most of us have been following as far as conferences. This has actually existed for longer. It's actually been around for longer than even ours. And I've just kind of not really paid attention to it, but I met some people involved and spoke there last week. That's why I was gone. And I was telling you two, which I think is the tie-in that I'm just coming up with right now. I mean, I don't know. That it had a different vibe, and it had this, like, I don't want to say it's old school. I don't want to say it's more pro or anything like that, but it had kind of a lot of people who had survived like the ups and downs of publishing from the old, like,
More
even
like a
the old pulp
legacy vibe,
days.
right?
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of these were people who were back in like publishing little, trashy dime store paperback sort of thing, like that thing you think of as like a classic, traditionally sci-fi writer, and we're still
The old guard.
But they're still like they've adapted. They're still in kicking today. And so what that did was the Author Nation vibe, and I know that I'm vastly generalizing, but that always felt to me like it was cutting edge or trying to be cutting edge. Like that was always the aspiration, is what's new, what's interesting, what's different. And accordingly, I think
And this is more like what's classic.
Well, I think accordingly, more people who go to Author Nation and who are in that world are like of our audience's ilk. And
Yeah.
there is a negative side to some of that. Like, as much as I love our audience, there is this kind of like, tell me what works right now. Tell me which buttons to push. Hold on, I just started something yesterday and I'm not rich.
Yeah, for sure. How many
Get
words
rich.
are in a cereal?
Right. So but this didn't have that. It had more like, there were people who, like, especially the people that were speaking and stuff, who had been around for a long time. And so they'd been through many different versions of what publishing was. And the idea of querying agents and reviewing publishing contracts was something that was prominent, whereas we almost never talk about that sort of stuff in our world. So it was just an interesting contrast. And I don't know, I thought that was cool.
Did you, I know this might be a hard question to answer, but did you like it better, the same, not as much? Like it was
It was different. It was different. I mean, I do think that people choose sides. And I think that I ran into people there who were like, Author Nation's too overwhelming and just kind of like, I'm not interested. And although, to be fair, I think a lot of that's Vegas. Like, I think a lot of people hate Vegas.
I'm in that group.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people who go to Author Nation, I didn't do a poll, but would kind of be like, oh, that's too small. That's too stodgy, even though it's not stodgy at all. So, so it was different. Accordingly, I didn't meet a lot of people who were the same. Like, I thought I was going to go in and it was going to be a good
lot of
mix.
overlap.
You know, I figured that there would be like, it would be a 50% match to Author Nation in terms of vibe and people and stuff. Not literally numbers, but like it would feel that way.
What is it, like 20%?
If not less. I mean, it was weird. Like, I thought people would know who I was, and people did, but by no means a large percentage, right? So I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was a very different vibe, but a very cool vibe. One of the things that people said about it, and I heard this many times, and I wanted to kind of stand up and wave my hands and say, well, wait a minute, was that it was like, it's like family. They talked about the community. Now, what does that sound like? It's family. It's a community. Like, that's what people said about the Smarter Artist Summit.
Yeah.
Now, granted, theirs was first, but people did say that about ours. I don't think people say it about Author Nation just because it's so big.
It's too
like
big.
overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you get into like 4 digits, I mean, we were low 3 digits. We were 150. We intentionally kept it at Dunbar's number. You know, it was 150.
Did we never? I feel like by the last one we were up above 200, but maybe not.
No, we were always 150. 150 was our cap.
I don't remember there being a cap. Do you want to fight?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah,
in a
no,
second.
I because that is a great container, you know, like 150. After that, it gets harder to know everybody's names. I mean, remember Ben Hale was able to recite every single person's name, right?
Right, but I thought that was significant because our numbers kept running. That by the last one, he was like, dude, this was too much. It was too hard.
No, it was too much because it was like, dude, do your party trick again. He was like, no more. But the number never changed. The number was 150, and I love that. But I do think that, you know, there's when you have, I think Author Nation was like 1,200. Does that sound about right?
I think it was even bigger than that. But yeah, it's definitely 4 figures.
I mean, you could do different tracks. You can have, but to me, that was like, I don't necessarily want 5 things to choose from. I want everyone to be in the same place, but it's just a different kind of event. But I prefer smaller to bigger personally.
Now, I mean, we could push something cool off to later since we're already talking about it and everything.
Well, actually, I'd like something cool because my something
Okay.
cool, coincidentally, really ties into this topic. So
All right,
hilariously, you guys, for those of you keeping score at home, when we started this episode, we're like, okay, Dave, what's the topic? And Dave, like, we'll save the topic for another time. But it was basically, let's shit on stuff. And then Johnny and I weren't like super in love with the topic. So we're like, can you suggest something else? And he goes, let's shit on something else. And then Johnny goes, dude, are all of your topics just shitting on things? And it is.
I think I've been too positive in this new show, so I needed to, step back a little and try to reclaim my throne.
Well, it is.
Johnny's become the angry man on the.
It is very Dave tropey. So we wanted to, like, Johnny had just been to Superstar, so it seemed like a good thing to tie in, and that's where we came up with the topic. But coincidentally, my something cool, I'll go first, is tying into this. It's working with Dave is my something cool, actually.
What?
Wait,
I know. I know. I know.
What the fuck?
I know. But specifically, it's working with Dave, but generally, it's something larger. It's like, okay, so recently, Catherine, who is our head of publishing, just said, we were talking. So Dave recently turned in a draft of something that actually isn't going to come out until next year. It's just something that is like a slow burn. But Dave has a history of turning things in, and he's like, I hate this. And then we don't feel much differently when we're going through it.
Wow.
And, it'll need a lot of work.
This isn't in recent years, not like, when we were in our stride.
No, yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. This is
And I feel like most of the stories that, have come about that way are ones that I was kind of assigned, or they were assigned by committee.
Yes. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. And so, so Dave turns this work in, and Catherine it was like, and she told me, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, like, he had really good feedback on it, but I hadn't told Dave yet, and I'm like, oh, I need to tell him that, it'll make him really happy because he basically got an A+ on his assignment, and
A
Catherine said,
first ever in history of anything, really, even school.
Catherine said, Dave is happier than I've seen him in the entire time that I've been here. So I don't know if I told you that, Dave, but
No, okay.
she said that, and I feel
And
the
then
same.
she started crying. It's like, you broke Dave.
But Dave is happier and he's doing great work. And so I had this experience today, which is what led me to the something cool. So it's two parts. The first part was that David turned in a script last October, and I hadn't got to it yet. Like, I opened it in October. I had way too much to do. I looked at it, I closed it, and now I need to get back to it. And I'm caught up on a bunch of other stuff. So I finally got to it today. I open it up and I'm like, oh. So Dave, for our listeners, how long is a script generally supposed to be?
Like 90 pages.
90 pages, 100 pages, 110 pages, max 120. If it's 121 pages, you fucked up, go back, right? This was 130 pages and it didn't get to act 3 yet. All right. And so I'm like,
I don't remember which one this was.
I'll tell you, I have notes coming to you. This is the whole story.
I bet.
So, right. So I'm looking.
This was my Tarantino epic.
No, it's not. It's a very lean idea. It should be 90 pages max. It's 130. It doesn't get to act 3. And then the last page is just notes about how you couldn't figure shit out. I'm like, oh, man, but it is something that was assigned to him. It's not anything he felt passionate about. I totally understand how it got there. By contrast, I was like, okay, I'll deal with this later. I closed that. And then I pulled in an outline for another script that we're going to write. It's our next script. And it was awesome. And it was like, this is really fun. And I was able to just bust out my notes to Dave and pass it back on. And I was like, oh, this feels really good. It's that, like, Sterling and Stone at this point is what, 14 years old? We're almost 14 years old, and we're going into our fourth phase.
Just got our first hair.
That's the second time you've made the joke.
No, that was a great callback. That was a great callback. I gotta applaud you on that one.
We're in our fourth phase now, and this is just feeling good. And we had a couple of dark years. We had, like, Dave was just getting a bunch of stuff assigned that he didn't really care about, and he was kind of like sidelined in the company in some ways. And now he's playing full out, and he's doing things that he loves, and he's included. And, like, a lot of our old magic is back. And even though Johnny's not with the company anymore, we're writing again, and it just feels like we've matured, and we have been there a long time. And, like, I'm looking at 3 of the people who are, helping with the company right now. So someone who's in charge of our email marketing, someone who's in charge of our ads, and then someone who, Dave.
Someone who's Dave.
Those 3 people right there, I've known those people more than half a century collectively, right? My entire time online. And so there's just a lot of history and a lot of legacy and a lot of, like, I don't know, like, just history. And I feel like we tried to play a short game for a few years and we weren't good at it. And now we're back into playing a longer game. We're back in the relationships and ideas business. And it just feels good. I feel creatively alive. I'm really enjoying all of my work. And I'm having a really fluid time working with Dave. So, like, working with Dave is my something cool. It has been really fun. We've had a really just awesome year so far. But it's a metaphor for the larger picture. Picture is also ties into, growing up as, indies growing up. Like, there's just history as a company now. Like, we're like a real business. We've weathered some serious storms, and we're ready for an amazing year. And I love the place that we find ourselves in, and I love not being in a hurry, and I love knowing that we're building something long term and legacy.
Wow, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm not used to compliments.
Well, just wait until you get the feedback on the script. It'll be a reset.
Okay. There are the flagellation. Thank you. Johnny, do you have something cool this week?
Well, first of all, that indies growing up, I believe, is the topic, right? So we didn't actually get there. We were just talking about superstars, but I just wanted to, I know I'm not the host anymore, but that's my traditional knee-jerk thing, is to try to connect that to the dots for that.
I mean, you could be host. I mean, it's real easy just to.
Dave's still angling for it, Johnny. He'll be so happy.
I know, no, I don't. I do not want it. Do not want. I have.
You have to take it's a hero's journey. You're turning it down, but you have to eventually accept the mantle again. Or you're not the hero.
I guess I'm not the hero. I have the one that I planned, which is like something cool, and then I have a cool thing that I did, but it borders on promotion. So I should tell you about the cool one, not the one that borders on promotion, right?
You can do both. I don't care.
Well,
Dave doesn't care, and he's the host.
I'll save it for the CTA if you guys care at the end, because it's a thing you can sign up.
Do it for a CTA. I like that.
I'll do it for the CTA. So no, I'm rewatching The Haunting of Hill House, and I've already seen it twice all the way through, and I finally got my son to watch it with me, and I'm just reappreciating that it's just a wonderful, wonderful series.
It's so
now,
good.
it did not. The sequel, The Haunting of Bly Manor, was not really very good. I don't think it felt like it was trying to be The Haunting of Hill House, but he also did the Fall of the House of Usher.
That one I haven't watched yet.
I've heard it's good.
It's great. I liked it.
I've heard very good things. But
Cindy and I watched all Mike Flanagan's limited series over last year. We watched all of them again. They're great.
Yeah, I appreciate how much it takes its time. It's a slow boil, and there's all these uncanny things that they're just uncanny, and then they start to connect. So like when I was watching it, I was trying to just keep my son engaged, and I was like, okay, so you see how like he comes into the room and he's got a bandage on his hand? That you'll find out later why that is. Like all sorts of little things, all the attention to detail of there's stuff that would be spoilers, but there are scenes that are shown early on, and then you see that scene again later, and you're like, that was when X person did X.
Yeah, it does a beautiful job with nonlinear storytelling.
Yes, and it doesn't spoon feed you either. They'll usually say like Hill House then at the beginning of the episode or something like that, and then you have to figure it out. You have to say, okay, well, this is the time when this happened or whatever. And there was a little bit of confusion. It was like, well, when did this occur? Because I know
it uses a lot of color cues to kind of tell you when it is.
Yes, but also like use your brain sorts of clues, because I know the stuff involving Stephen's book. So just the main, I guess he's the main character, the oldest son. Stephen writes a book about the experiences when they were kids, and it causes some contention in the family. And there's like a sequence where he's looking at his book, and then suddenly we're back when the family is arguing about it. And there's 2 or 3 things that are back to back that you're like, okay, I need to mentally put those in order, which is not a huge feat, but I just respect that it's the contrast to what you were saying earlier, like on the 2 episodes ago, Sean, where you were like, Netflix wants things where people can be on their phones. Like, I don't want you to be able to be on the phone with my fiction figuratively, even though it's book form. So I respect that when I see it.
I do think that is like one of my favorite series ever. I also liked the what the hell was that? Forget it. But what I like about it is what you're saying is you do have to pay attention. You do have to do some of the work. And I feel like that's how the best comedy works. Like when it sets up a joke that requires some knowledge on your part, or at least paying attention, and then you feel kind of clever for getting it. That like the big, kind of reveal in that show, which I won't spoil, was just such a powerful moment that I had to watch it like a few times. Like just it was just so perfectly executed. And I want to watch that with my son too, but he's not that big on horror.
Yeah, it upends everything, and it recontextualizes stuff that you thought you knew. And it followed, like, I always think it's like the mystery genre understands this. Like, you have to be able in a mystery to solve the mystery without, like, nothing's hidden from you, right? Like,
Yeah,
what
you
you're
don't want it to
given.
feel cheap. You don't want it to feel
you can't feel cheated. You can't be like, oh, there was a cousin who we never met who did whatever. That feels very Deus Ex. So it's like, all the pieces have to be there. And if you're really astute, you should be able to figure them out. And of course, there's lots of misdirection and stuff. And so it has that element too, where you're like, oh my God, I saw all these pieces and I'm only putting it together now.
So I will get to my something cool, then we can move on with the show. My something cool is actually pretty short. It's a trailer I saw a while ago. I've been looking forward to this movie. It comes out in March.
You going to move into it? Is it double wide?
No.
Cool that you saw a trailer.
Now I was looking for my notes just so I get it right. It's called Undertone because it had a different name before that. It's the IMDb says it's the host of a popular paranormal podcast becomes haunted by terrifying recordings that somebody is sending her way. Now, this is an A24 film, so I'm imagining it's going to be good. They usually are. It looks like one of those movies could be divisive, like people might not like it. I don't know, but it's a very Dave coded sort of movie with audio. The audio in this trailer is freaky, terrifying. It has so many like mysterious sounds, and I just want to know more. It lights up like all
I
those
like that
little.
title for the premise too.
Yeah. Coincidentally, when I was looking up to see if there was like interviews or anything with the guy that made it, because it is his first movie, he's done some shorts before that. There was somebody else that had made a similar sound movie called Undertone on YouTube that released their trailer. It's different. It looks like it might also be cool. I don't know, but it's one of those weird coincidences where two people had a very similar thing. But anyway, yeah, check out that trailer. We'll have it in the show notes.
A24 is interesting too because so the last 3 movies that I saw all 3 of these movies last weekend. We were trying to catch
Weapons?
up on what'd you say?
Weapons?
No, we saw Weapons late last year,
Oh, okay.
but
Is
we did
is
just see.
well, that is a
Yeah, we just watched If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You,
Almost
that
watched
good?
that the other day.
The Smashing Machine, and Sorry Baby. We watched them back to back to back, and I didn't know they were all A24, but like the credits come up before the screen. The A24 is like one of those companies where you're like, well, that was good. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, right? Where Haunting of Hill House, I've seen it 3 times. Like it rewards repeat viewings. All 3 of these movies, I would say, were really good, but I don't know that I would ever watch any of them again. They're like, especially If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Rose Byrne is so super, super, super good in it, but it's just so stressful and yeah, not anything I'd watch twice. So I think it was good. I don't know if she's nominated for Best Actress for an Oscar, but I think she won Best Actress for a Golden Globe. And she was great. She's great in it, but very stressful.
I saw a trailer and I can't remember the name of it. I can't fucking find it right now, but just remember this for later. It's for a Netflix movie, has Brad Pitt, and it looked very Tarantino-ish. I thought it was going to be a commercial for a Tarantino movie.
Well, do you know that Brad Pitt is doing a Tarantino movie on Netflix made by David Fincher?
Maybe that's it then. I didn't know. The style was like, that's so that's so Tarantino.
Wait, what do you mean
Okay.
made by Fincher? Is Fincher producing it? Or
Yeah.
because
So
Tarantino's
apparently
not directing his own movie?
No, because it's a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So Tarantino wrote a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he doesn't want to direct it because he's only doing his 10 movies and he didn't want to pick it as his 10th movie. David Fincher was like, dibs. And he's got a great relationship with Netflix. David Fincher does. And so that's where it ended up. So, but I didn't know the trailer was out. I can't wait to see that. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
that's it then, because it felt like that.
Did it look great?
Yeah, I was expecting, because it didn't say Netflix in the beginning. I was like, oh, is this Tarantino's like last movie or something? And then
I can't wait to see the
then
trailer
the
and the movie.
Netflix, doo-doom, and I was like, what?
Dude, you know what I saw that surprised me was F1. I saw that a couple weeks ago and I did not expect to like it. I could give a shit about the F1 world and I'm like, so it's Top Gun on a racetrack. Like it's totally the vibes I got. And I was like, oh, I guess I have to watch that. It's nominated for Best Picture. I want to see it. But it kept dropping on the list like for 4 or 5 months. We're like, do you want to watch that? Oh no, it's almost 3 hours. That's a long time. All right, fine. And I really enjoyed it. It's weird because I didn't expect to care about the racing at all, but I did. I cared about the races. I cared about like what happened on the track as much as off the track. So it was good. Way better than expected.
I mean, it's no Ballad of Ricky Bobby, but yeah.
So that thing about the Tarantino with his 10 movies. What do you think about that? Because like, there's a huge part of me that really respects it, and I understand why he's doing it. And he doesn't want to he wants to go out strong and all that stuff. But like, how old is he? 60, maybe?
Yeah.
Upper 50s. So I'm like, is there a part of you that's like, really, you're just gonna be done? it just seems really weird. It feels like he should
Well,
just maybe be
okay.
really selective rather than picking a number and
Yeah,
sticking with it.
I agree. I do respect it. I'm like, because his criteria is every single director that I absolutely love got substantially worse after their 10th movie. Like that's his thesis, right? And that he wants to not be that guy. He wants to just like make his 10 movies and then be done.
And he's going
But
to do like art house foot fetish movies for the rest of his career.
to me, I feel like it's arbitrary, and I think it's going to be like, do you remember when Stephen King retired?
I don't.
Yeah,
Vaguely.
yeah, he's like, "I'm retiring. I'm done with this. I'm writing 3 more books and then I'm done." And it was like from a Buick 8 was one of them. The final Dark Tower book, like he basically cleaned house, he was done. And then like a year and a half later, he came out with a novella. And he's like, "Well, I just couldn't help it. It's this little novella, whatever. It's not a real book." And then like a year later, he had a book of short stories. And then he was just back. Like he never left. I think that if you are born to make art, you're born to make art. My hope for Tarantino, I think he's a long form storyteller. The original Inglorious Bastards was like, I think the script was like 300 and some pages, like Dave length. So it was like super, super, super long, and he had to cut it back down to the almost 3-hour movie that it is. But like, I think that he could make stuff on TV. Like Netflix recut Hateful Eight into a 4-episode limited series. I think that if he wants to stick to his 10 movies only in the theater, awesome. And then move to TV. I think he'd be really, really good at TV, especially the way TV has evolved.
Well, except for his guest starring role on Alias, which was just frightening and ruined
Okay,
the
well,
show.
that's not what I mean by him on TV.
Okay.
Yes,
As long
he
as
was-
he's not in it.
For the
Good.
record, he was terrible in Alias.
What do you guys think about, can he wildcard Death Proof? Can he just get rid of that and have 2 left? Because like he got bad in the middle. Like what the fuck, Death Proof?
You know what? Death Proof is one I watched. I think I've only seen it 3 times, which is way less than any other Tarantino movie. And every time I'm like, this is going to be the one where I really connect with it. And it just,
You're trying to
it hasn't
PTA
happened.
that shit.
I absolutely am. Yeah.
Do you
All
think
right,
he feels
so-
that way? Do you think he's like, God damn it, I want one more movie. Why did I make Death Proof?
I do. I think that he wants to, I think he wishes that one didn't really count. But he made a big deal about it when it did come out as like, this is one of my movies. This actually counts.
And Kill
So now
Bill
he's
is
gonna
just
take it
one
back.
movie.
Kill Bill. Yeah, he counts Kill Bill as one movie, but Death Proof counts as another one. Technically, he's already made 10 movies.
Well, we should have just did the topic I was originally talking about, but hey.
Are you, Dave, is your idea with the negative podcast, are you trying to start an Undertone situation? Are you trying to turn this into a podcast that like haunts people?
Yes, I wanted to hunt people. So yeah, okay. So back, steering it back away from Sean's tangents on Tarantino, all things Tarantino. Even though
All Things
started it.
Tarantino is my new podcast.
There you go. So yeah, let's talk about indies growing up. Very natural segue. Get right back into it. And
Speaking of
had a
indies
thought-
growing up, is there anything to lose? No, just kidding.
Well, the thought I had while you were talking about the difference between the two conferences is, would you say that, the larger conference is more like entrepreneurial and has less people really trying to write stories? Are they looking for just a way to get rich and they don't give a fuck about story? Not that's true of even a large percentage of them.
I think they're trying to get rich. I think most of the people I met at Author Nation would be happy just to make a living, like not get rich, but like be creatively and professionally rewarded. It's not about getting rich. It's about like, I would love to quit my day job and write full time. I think that's like a very respectable goal rather than like, I didn't feel like a gold rush mentality at all.
Okay.
No, I don't think it's a
I
gold
didn't
rush
think
thing.
so.
No, it's the difference that I'm talking about is more of an attitude. It's really wish I could think of a good parallel, but it feels like, and this is my judgment. This is not anybody else's judgment. But by comparison, and by the way, it's not meant as a judgment, right? It's not meant as a negative. I'm just trying to articulate in words what I'm expressing here. So it almost feels like from that perspective of like when I was at Superstars, to me, by comparison, the world that we're used to feels impetuous. It feels impatient, impetuous. We want to kind of hack the system. Now that's not good, bad, or indifferent, but that's the closest I can come. Whereas this conference felt more it just felt like it had more years behind it. And maybe that's a better way to put it. It was
But it
people.
does have more years behind it, right?
Yes, but the people had more years behind them. They were people with deeper histories. They were people who worked with like big names in sci-fi. I'm not like a super sci-fi geek despite writing sci-fi, but like people who know the classic history of sci-fi through that tradition would recognize all of these names of these people that they were talking about and collaborating with. And it was in their vocabulary. It was just in the stories that they told. It just felt like it had more years behind it. It felt like the people were just more seasoned, and the attitude of the conference as a whole was just a little bit less seasoned. Now you could flip that around and you could say that from an Author Nation perspective, then maybe Superstars didn't feel cutting edge enough. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I'm trying to put words around what's this weird feeling that's in my head. I just appreciated the contrast.
To me, it feels like a lot of the long time authors that have been around, they're survivors. They've been through all the changes in the publishing industry, the ups and downs. They've had to, write the books they didn't want to write. They've done a lot to survive this long and be able to still tell their stories. There's something almost like a war, like a veterans group meeting or something, that it kind of feels like as an outsider. I obviously didn't go to it. I think, I don't know, there's like the long storied history of people that have been doing it and continue to do it. They're still able to do it versus the people that are trying to do it now or doing it and succeeding now and looking for ways to innovate and to roll with the changes. It feels like they're both doing the same thing in different ways. I don't know, but I
felt
do
less
feel
impatience at this. Impatience is not necessarily a bad thing because of the quick start, let's get up, let's get going. Like that jibes with everything that I believe too, as long as you're not reckless about it. But the
Wait,
topic
okay,
of
Johnny,
indies,
I have a question. How would like, I know how I think you and I both, like, rub against a little bit where the only way you can get traction is for ads. Like, right? Like, we understand that that's a reality. You can't argue with the reality that ads are a really important part of the publishing game. But I imagine that the perspective on ads at Author Nation versus Superstars would be different.
well, I should say that I didn't actually go to many sessions because they worked me a lot harder. And I was trying to like create something at the time. So I didn't have
You
extra
were on
time,
the
right?
clock.
I was on the clock. Like I had 6 sessions, in addition to like there were
Wow.
4 other like little things. So I didn't have a lot of time to attend, and that means that I barely looked. So as far as curriculum, I don't know. Now, yeah, so I don't know that I can really speak to that. But like all the same vendors were there. Funnel was there, and Curios was there,
Hey, Damon.
and yeah, I mean, he even did the karaoke, so that formed a bridge for me because they have karaoke at.
That's so tropey.
Right. I mean, we had the first book funnel karaoke. I don't mean to brag, at the Smarter Artist Summit. So that was, I don't know necessarily what they were doing talking about ads. I don't know. I kind of wish I did now because it would be something but I just didn't look that closely. It certainly wasn't talked about in every conversation. That sort of thing at Author Nation, there's a vibe to every conversation you have. Well, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to work this thing. And some of it feels like, just hustle. And some of it feels like trying to work arbitrage and game the system.
Yeah, okay, so would this be accurate where, like, and again, I know that these are big generalities that we're saying, so but in general, the Author Nation crowd is, like, bigger, faster, more, and the Superstar is more sustainable? Like, what is a sustainable way of approaching your author career?
If we're speaking in sweeping generalizations, yes. That said, I know that Joe and Suze have really tried to emphasize that longer term thinking a lot in the past few years.
And
So
Joe and Suze are Author Nation.
Author Nation. And so thinking in terms of what like sensibility, right? Like there's a lot about the indie movement that annoys the shit out of me. Like I'm not going to lie. Like we helped, we were at the beginning of it in some ways. And so I do love it in general, but there's some things that I'm just like, will you fucking settle down and understand that this is a business with a product and a customer, and that it doesn't magically become like, magic basically, just because you're online and you're selling ebooks, and that indies ignore, like as a whole, the crowd that we've always hung with ignores paperbacks way more than it embraces paperbacks. And I know that obviously there are people that do, but it's like ebooks are kind of the dominant thing. And then, if I get to it, I'm currently much more focused on paperbacks. And I'm not saying that Superstars was focused on paperbacks, but I didn't feel that polarity. Like I didn't feel like that newer, faster, more. So I guess I would say that I would agree with that sweeping generalization as long as I put some, caveats and fences around it. I will say that like this larger topic of indies growing up, I think is kind of at the center here. And we're giving these two conferences as maybe examples of maybe different points or different perspectives on that spectrum. I know that when we were brand new, it was, you could throw anything up on Kindle and back in the Amanda Hawking, John Locke days. And there were people who just put up things that were crap and unfinished for 99 cents. And then it would go nuts. And that was way easier back then. Whereas now you're much more expected to behave like honestly, like trash.
Well, yeah, if you tried that now, you would just disappear. Like there's no visibility for you if you
But
do
there's
that.
still psychic vestiges of it, right? Like there's still, you don't see those same behaviors, but you see mentalities that make me think that those behaviors are still latent somehow, if that makes any sense. Like there's this, let me go cheap. Let me court just this kind of buyer. Like those sorts of things I think have as assumptions behind them some of the same things that I'm talking about. Whereas so selling books, this is something I've been thinking a lot about recently. Selling books is just, you need to put the right offer in front of the right people in the right way. That's it. And that's what it is for selling anything. But I feel like there's a lot of authors that don't really get that. And they're like, yeah, but where's TikTok? But where's the ads? Where's whatever? And I'm like, okay, cool. As long as it is serving the goal of putting the right product in front of the right customers in the right way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Okay. So I have a follow-up question here. What about like one of the things that has irked me increasingly so over the years, because I didn't see this in the early days and I saw it increasingly as we went on, was kind of a sense of entitlement within a certain current of the indie community. And entitlement is just kryptonite for me. Like, like work hard, iterate, do your thing, but don't expect people to just like shower you with success. And I did feel like there was this entitlement. And I also felt like as it got harder, there was a resentment that it wasn't as easy as it used to be, even though the fact that it was easy, quote unquote, was just this one window of time, was very narrow. And because that's just the way circumstances in the world worked. But that entitlement to me always seemed very misplaced. And I would think that in a container like Superstars, you just wouldn't have that entitlement there because these are people who have done the work and they've done it in they've climbed a taller, harder ladder.
I think so. I mean, I think that there were some of those sentiments were put out there. I know that, so that conference is largely Kevin J. Anderson runs it, or it's his, I mean, there are many people, there's a team, but he's the guy I know, and he's the guy.
Just give a little brief bio on
Yeah,
Kevin?
so Kevin's got one of those like deeply like deep histories in writing, and he's worked on major franchises. He's written Star Wars, Star Trek, X-Files, Dune. He's the current author of the Dune franchise, which the original Dune is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book. And so he writes those with Brian Herbert now. So he's had several TV deals through the Dune universe. He's done graphic novels. He's done novelizations. He's done a few books with Neil Peart from Rush before he passed away. So he's got all these connections in the music industry, blah, blah, blah. So he's got, and his opening keynote was about like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't count on any one thing because that thing could collapse. And then he'd have a story about it. I thought I was going great with like novelizations. And he's like, then they stopped doing novelizations. Like who's heard of a novelization recently? Nobody does that. Or, he'd been into something else and then he'd be like, well, that pivoted. Or, they would just change the way that they were doing things. So his whole opening keynote was about like being nimble and being flexible. And that entitlement, I don't mean to make this about like the conferences, but that is a good avatar for it. And that entitlement, I totally agree. And it annoys the piss out of me too. But I think we set it up, like we as an industry, because what we did, and this is something I'm trying to say as much as I can, is that we normalized the idea of the full-time author, the six-figure author, and the seven-figure author to the point where subconsciously, if not consciously, so many people who enter this world think that that's the goal, period. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to be a full-time author. And if I don't, I'm just doing something wrong. It's just steps along a path and you're going to get there. No, that's not normal. It's not normal to be a full-time author. That's an exception. And so I think that entitlement comes from that. It's like, well, I'm supposed to be a full-time author. You promised me,
Yeah, it seems like a lot of what you were just saying about Kevin J. Anderson, feels like he was a smarter artist before smarter artists. He was
Totally.
doing a little bit of everything. And I do feel that there is, to your point, there is some of that, like, find that one thing, do that one thing, extract as much money out of it as you can, and then move on to the next one thing. And I don't know how much of that is prolific now as it was like a few years ago when I really started to notice it. I feel like there is a maturity in growing up, kind of getting to the point of the show, in the indie community, where a lot of that thinking, those people just chasing the trends and the easy quick money, they won't adapt in the same way as somebody that's really trying to tell stories.
Well, it's not
And
coming from a place of, like, love or joy, and that is way harder to sustain because when you're not getting the results you want, like, you don't have the engine to keep you going because the one thing's not working, but you don't have the foundation over here, where it seems like in again, I know these are very generalizations for 2 conferences, one of which I've never been to, but it seems like with superstars, these are people who have been doing it longer and for reasons that have more depth. Like, it's fuck, that's not what I mean. Because 'cause I'm just like, I'm not shitting on
No,
all the
I,
people
I, I
author
get what you're
nations.
saying, but I think maybe a good filter to lay atop this that may clarify it to some degree is I think that like rapid release, the thing that we've vilified a lot, is
Yeah,
a perfect example of the opposite of what I just described Kevin was saying. I'm not just going to put all my eggs in one vehicle, ebooks online, but I'm going to put them all in Amazon's pocket. And that's the opposite
right.
of sensible business thinking to me. Always has
Yeah.
been.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode with Dave. Like, Dave is not wired to write KU, and so, as we, like, really focused on KU over the last couple of years, he didn't really have a place, and that's true for many of the people in the company, and now that we're like, "Okay, that didn't really work, let's try some other things," like, there's a giddiness in the company that hasn't been there in a long time. Like, Joel, dude, so Joel, I think, has been with us for, I wanna say 9 years now, at least 8, maybe 9 years, and I have not seen him this happy probably ever. Like, he's just so prolific, and he's just so productive, and it's because there's not all the eggs in one basket, because he's not a KU writer either. He is a born storyteller, but he's not a KU storyteller, and anytime we try to put him in that lane, he's unsuccessful. And so it's hard because KU is so data driven. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with KU. KU is a very legitimate revenue stream. But if that's the only way you're building your business around, it's that's a hard business that isn't getting any easier, nor will it ever get any easier.
for me, there's an anger there. How we're almost extorted into paying to play nowadays
Yeah.
with the advertising. And I don't know. I don't even know what I want to say about this. It feels like it subtracts from the stories we want to write. We feel like, and I don't even think this is a new thing. This has always been, and all the older writers at these conferences had their own version of it, that where they had to, write the thing that sold versus the thing that, was good or what they wanted to write. And you still have to do that to some extent, and also pay for that privilege by advertising in a way where advertising in itself is fine for your book, but to have to do it, to even to compete on the smallest level, otherwise you're buried and you're hidden. It feels almost like extortion, like
Well, also,
mob.
to Johnny's earlier point, it's because, like, you have to rapid release, you have to write books that are whatever, they're algorithmically sound, and then you have to advertise if you want to be a full-time author. But there's also nothing wrong with keeping your day job and writing on the side for the love of it, for the joy of it, and having way less product out there, but way more passion in what you actually do. And that's an argument that does get lost along the way. And it becomes here's how it's done. This is what a successful author looks like. And like let's redefine what successful authorship actually is.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you on the advertising thing, Dave. I get it, and I've felt that. But to me, that's just more about putting the right offer in front of the right people in the right way. I mean, for a while, we were able to get away with because somebody was always doing it, right? Like either traditional publishers were advertising the books in whatever way that they could, anything from the back of a bus to, print ads. And then we were on Amazon, and Amazon is effectively doing that for us. But it's because they're getting a piece of the pie. Like traditional publishing was their product too. When it's Amazon, it's their product too. Whereas with us, we just have to fill in the gaps of what Amazon does. And I mean, I've explored a lot of ways to do that very simple directive of put the right book in front of the right person recently. And if I go to a convention, I got to pay to be there. The more people are going to be there, the more eyes I'm going to have, the more I have to pay. Like I'm going to Planet Comic Con. I think I paid $1,200 to go to that. But I know that I'll make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. I think it's up to the individual business person to decide. By business person, I mean author, to decide whether those eyeballs are worth it. So, I mean, I haven't cracked ads yet, but I have been working on it. And it just feels to me like if I can use ads to do the same thing, to put my right offer in front of right people, then I want to do it. I feel like we had a period that maybe led to an entitlement, honestly, where it was like it was easy because the marketplace was naked, right? There was nothing there. I mean, what do you think, Sean?
I agree with both of you. So I do think that advertising is necessary. That's just how business works. But I think what Dave is saying is the mechanism for how it's handled now. And the fact that, like exclusivity, for example, it's the weight that's different. It's because Amazon. So I don't think that if I'm hearing this right, Dave, please tell me if I'm wrong here. But what I heard Dave say is not that he objects to advertising, that he senses a resentment from the community where their Amazon has disproportionate power. So if the largest bookstore is Amazon and the second largest bookstore is Kindle Unlimited, and if you're not exclusive to Amazon, then you're basically invisible unless you spend a disproportionate amount on advertising.
Yes.
Right? Like that's a very difficult equation. So then like, you're like, that is a fucked up equation. So I'm going to do live events and I'm going to do other things. But for somebody who's just trying to like dabble on the side, like they're in a hard position because, and also let's not forget that advertising is difficult and it's a completely
really
different
fucking
skill
difficult.
set than writing. So you have writers who are unqualified to create their own ad copy and the design assets and testing and A/B this and that, and like that's just it's a different skill set. Like we have an entire department that's what they do that's separate from the creators because it's two very, very different skill sets. So I think that that's what I was hearing from Dave, is that it's not that he objects to the fact that advertising exists, because of course advertising needs to exist. And to your point, Johnny, it is just putting the right offer in front of the right person. That makes total sense. It's the disproportionate power that Amazon has over storytellers right now.
I would agree, and I don't like Amazon ads for that reason, because I'm like, hey, Amazon, this is your fucking job.
So to tie all of this up, I feel like it's really not two different camps as much as it might seem like it. I feel like it's people that are new and people that have been there, and we're all kind of struggling with similar things. But as indies, I do feel like we're growing up and we're learning these things that we need to learn, and there are people in the community that do help with the things that like I struggle with, like with the advertising and stuff like that. So I don't know where I fall on the spectrum if I was to go to either of these conferences, but I don't leave my house, so hey, that doesn't really.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything you have to worry about, Dave.
No, I don't really.
Barely went to our conference.
Right.
No, we had to drag you kicking and streaming, and you complained the entire time
When he was there,
before,
he liked
during,
it.
and after.
I only
When there was blood on
streamed
the blanket.
yeah, well, I only screamed twice, and that was on the drive through Louisiana because holy fuck, their traffic sucks, and the drive through Houston because holy fuck, their traffic sucks.
Houston
Yeah,
would
the
be
drive
rad.
to Houston is
But
rough.
all the rest of the drive, I loved. I loved, like, the long stretches of nothing and just listening to music. That was great.
Being away from your family was, like, the best thing ever, right?
Wow. No, but I do love staying in hotel rooms. I do love that.
Despite the fact that you have to put your toothbrush a certain way to make sure that you can tell nobody's messing with it?
That was staying at somebody's house, and we all know that
He likes
people that
hotels, it's Airbnbs he objects to.
Because
yeah, Airbnb.
hotels are definitely there isn't a Jackson Pollock if you turn on a UV light or anything.
Well, yeah, there probably is, everywhere. However, in an Airbnb, you're staying at somebody's house, and there's a chance that they have cameras rigged to watch every movement you make, and they're sending it to some far off Eastern like porn producer, and it's just like,
And not even, like, a chance, like, a strong likelihood, right?
yeah, and there's probably somebody living in the walls waiting to murder you in your sleep. I mean, that's just a given.
Right, the people under stairs documentary.
Yes. So yeah, okay, so yeah, I was trying to wrap this up.
Good luck.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, I think that we're basically the thesis here is that the industry is maturing, and that maybe it's a good idea for us to mature along with it rather than complaining about.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
it's maturing. I like the season that it's in. I like the season that the company is in. I like the season that I'm in as a creator. I like the season of all the collaborators that I'm working with. I think it's a good time, and I think that the growing up is necessary.
So what useful tips do we have for people listening, if they want to grow up with the community, like where do you begin?
Stop thinking short term. Stop when you're planning out what you want to do, stop thinking about the next month and think in terms of years. Because if you think in terms of years, you're going to pick projects that matter to you more. And you're not going to feel the disappointment of, oh, well, that shit didn't work because you're doing things that matter to you anyway. So if you only pick things that matter to you, and that's it for like a couple of years, the stuff that mattered to me just went in a pile. My word of the year is unity. So I'm trying to make sure that there's unity within, our culture, and there's unity within all the things, like less is more, like focus on the things that really matter and then maximize those things. And it's not about short-term gain. It's about like, hey, if we focus on this thing, will it matter 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? And if the answer is no, then it probably doesn't belong. And I think that is part of maturing. And I think that when we were first starting out, like all three of us and like the whole industry, but all three of us specifically, because we can speak to our own experience, we were going as fast as we could. Like Johnny and I were writing insanely fast. And, like you and I, Dave, like we started with like, okay, we're going to make a release every single week. Before the words rapid release existed, we were like, you know, rapid,
But
rapidly.
we were also writing stuff that we loved, and we were actually able to, get it in front of people and sell it. So it worked at the time.
It worked, but we stuck with things that didn't work for far too long and got away from the things that we loved. And I think that by returning to the things that we love, that is mature and it is longer term thinking. And I think it's much more sustainable.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts from you, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean it's very simple. It's just understand that it's a business and act accordingly. I mean, most businesses don't make money for years, and yet in indie culture, we're kind of like, well, hold on, I've been at this for a month now. Why am I not rich? And I had no startup costs, right? Or you don't want to pay startup costs. You don't want to pay for like a store software or a list mailing service or an ad. Or buying books to, if you go to cons, you have to buy books and ahead of time, or you have to pay for conventions or whatever. Those are simple
Stores do
business
have
expenses.
inventory, you
Yeah, I mean,
know?
you should see my office. It's insane. I have like 1,000 books in here. I mean, I'm not saying you need to do what I'm doing or by any means, but like you need to think like a business. Like you
Well,
can't.
but that's the thing. You don't
Yeah,
need to do what any of us are doing. Stop looking for templates and like paint by numbers. Like get the lay of the land and do what is right for you and for your career and for your own like creative, vibrant health.
right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you made me think about like the people that used to bitch about having to pay for Scrivener, even though it wasn't even a membership; it's a one-time thing. It's
Right.
like If you can't buy Scrivener or the equivalent of that, whatever you like, to write a book, then I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what to say.
you can't want something for nothing, and then expect success. Like, Johnny's absolutely right.
Says in a Dire Straits video.
Pay for
Right.
pay for your email marketing software. It's not that expensive, and there are free alternatives. And if you build your list, then you can upgrade or whatever, but be willing to invest in yourself. And that means time and it means money. Those are two separate things. And you should think of your time as money. And, like, if you're pumping out a book a month, like, I just think that those days were always destined to end. And now there's not really a lot of hope of that as a sustainable business model without just
Well, I would say you can still put out a book a month, but that shouldn't be your business model is I write fast. Well, what else is there to it? How do you, no, I write fast. Like that doesn't make sense to me. You have to have a clear like sales process. But I mean, I would argue I could write a book a month again if I get up to speed. I like writing fast. But like
right.
it's do or die if you write fast, and that is the way you make money, that doesn't make sense.
Right, but you're not going to write a book a month. The old model of find, a chink in the armor of the market, like
Right.
find a genre that is underserved, and then write a book a month until
No genre is underserved anymore.
Right, like it's exhausting. It's exhausting to try to keep up with that, and ultimately not very rewarding. And reward yourself creatively, and then like that's more sustainable.
If you focus on the stories you want to tell, it might be a harder road to make money, make a living at it. But I feel those stories will resonate more. And maybe in the long term, that will help you sell more. I don't know.
Yeah, never stop learning, never stop growing. That is what I suggest. It's any you know what? It's what we said a long, long time ago. It's not that different. Like, the culture has changed and our circumstances have changed, but iterate and optimize, right? Like, never, ever, ever stop feeding yourself creatively and professionally.
So, Johnny, what did you want to share with us?
Well, I mean, appropriately, I actually just did a little session on this, on the like things. I mean, I called it, everybody likes a good headline. It was like the vital change that revolutionized my artist and author career. But it was, I'll spoil it for you. It was like learning the things that we as authors do that are dumb and contrary to the ways that it would make sense to run a real business. I do think that most authors think about selling fundamentally wrong. So anyway, that thing, and I'm going to go ahead and warn you because I'm on this podcast that there is a fisting funnel involved. But that does not mean that the session itself is not incredibly valuable. And I've been getting feedback the whole time. So it's at johnnybtruant.com/change because it was the vital change. So enjoy.
Peace out until next week.
Take care.
Adios.
They chase the spark, we own the dark. They feed the scroll while we leave a mark. No tricks, no hacks, just the code they lack. Yeah. We stay on the rails while they fall off the track. Smarter artists never die. Yeah. We don't lay stone for spectacle, don't frame for applause. We build the boring way, with discipline and pause. They expect the penthouse view before the footing is set. A crown without calluses, a win without sweat. The craft is in the mortar, not the hunger for more. Not the facade that cracks with a hollowed out core. You want the trick, it's tedious, it's thankless, it's true. Show up with intention till the structure starts showing you. They go fast, we go far. Paper planes versus iron bars. They chase spikes, we stack days. We build the house that never fades. Let them run, let them fly. Smarter artists never die. Yeah. They chase vanity metrics that die at the peak. We pour the slow foundations while they sprint for the streak. We don't rent out retention to whatever blows through. We're setting corner posts for storms they never knew. We're not racing to the ribbon, we're widening the base. Let the footing fully cure before the frame locks in place. Every draft's another course, every session's a beam. We're not chasing momentum, we're constructing the dream. They go fast, we go far. Paper planes versus iron bars. They chase spikes, we stack days. We build the house that never fades. Let them run, let them fly. Smarter artists never die. They'll throw parades while you're still setting the forms. Pop champagne and glass towers while you're bracing for storms. Some nights you wonder if the blueprint's a lie, if the long game's just patience that forgot how to fly. But scars become low bearing when the structure survives. When the fast builds crack open and the slow ones stay alive. We don't ask for permission, we don't wait to be seen. We're drafting our futures in the quiet in between.
They go fast, we go far.